Hello there, people of the internet. I can already hear the hateful comments down below. So, let's go ahead and talk about what, the most popular deer hunting cartridges are going to be here in the United States. Now, other parts of the world, it might be different for you. I understand that. But here in the US, I think I have a good, solid assessment on what would be considered the most popular cartridges here. Now, I'm sure somebody's going to go into the comments down below and they're going to tell me, hey, you're wrong because I use this, or everyone in my particular area uses this. We don't even see that. And I understand that. But after running this YouTube channel and doing all the videos I've been doing for so many years, and just the things I see constantly in the comments down below, even though in your area it might be an oddity, but I think as a whole in the United States, I've got a pretty good, solid cartridge list. So this is not going to be in any real particular order. I do want to give one shout out real quick. I'm going to shout out the 6.5 Creedmoor, because the 6.5 Creedmoor has definitely gained popularity over the past couple of years, and it is getting definitely more and more popular around the US. But that being said, I don't think it's popular enough to make this list, but I'm sure I should probably bring it up because somebody at some point is going to bring up that they use it, or in their area it's all over, or it's superior or something like that. So here's your acknowledgement. Alright, so number one, like I said, no particular order, but I think that one of the most popular deer hunting cartridges in the US is going to be your 30-06. This is in 1 grand, Garand, however it is you feel like pronouncing it. Maybe this right here is not the most popular rifle shooting 30-06 in the US as of right now, but it's definitely a popular one. But the 30-06, it sends a 150 grain bullet. It's a 30 caliber round, 308 diameter. It sends a 150 grain bullet at about 3,000 feet per second. If we're talking about modern commercial stuff, if we're talking about M2 ball like this right here, it'd probably be more like 2750, somewhere around that ballpark. But we're going to go ahead and talk about just modern commercial stuff. I think that 30-06 is probably the most popular hunting cartridge in the US as of right now in comparison to everything else. But boy, what I think is the runner-up is definitely a solid second place. And we'll look more into that here in a second. I loaded the clip into this thing because I want to give y'all a grand ping. Hey, subscribe to the Grand Ping. Maybe that's what I should have named this channel, Grand Ping. Nah, I bet that would bring too much controversy. But the 30-06, it is a cartridge that was adopted. It used to be the 30-03. That was basically a 30-06 with a 220 grain bullet. There was a little shorter neck on it, but not enough for any real significant measure. But the 30-06 was designed in, technically 1903, but came out in 1906, had a 150 grain Spitzer round, served in the U.S. military for a very long time until the adoption of 7.62 NATO, which was after World War II, but by then the 30-06 was absolutely, wholeheartedly within the realms of firearms culture here in the U.S., and it has solidly held its stance in our firearms culture just for over a century at this point. God, the 30-06 is what, 130 years old at this point? Fantastic cartridge, still holds up extraordinarily well. So that there I think is probably the most popular deer hunting cartridge in the US. Second place goes to 308. Do I have any 308 rifles near me? I do, like right here. Ah, this is perfect actually. Maybe not so perfect. My chair is sitting on the thing. Get off of there. This is my hunting rifle, and it is chambered in 308. I think the 308 is probably going to be your most popular cartridge just because of the cost of the cartridge. The 308 is essentially a short 30-06. It fires a 150 grain bullet at about 2,800 feet per second, give or take. It was designed to mimic the ballistics of the M2 ball ammunition. And that 150 grain bullet, that is where the 308 really shines. You can fire heavier bullets like 180 grain, but as you get heavier than 180 grain, that's where the 30-06 really begins to outshine the 308. Like, heavier bullets in the 30-06 are just the chef's kiss whenever it comes to cartridges and ammo. But for most people, a 150 to a 180 grain bullet, that's gonna that's going to solve basically all of your problems that anyone's going to need a rifle for. But that 308 bullet, you can go out and get 308 or 7.62 NATO for probably about as cheap as 60 cents a shot, which is significantly less than 30-06. If you go out and you get yourself like hunting ammo, then you're probably looking more at 80 cents to $1 a shot, depending on what brand and what it is, and just like all the things like that. You can, of course, go out and spend as much money as you want on 308. If you want like some fine-tuned, handcrafted stuff that's like $5 a shot, go for it. But most people aren't doing that. But I think just because of the cost to performance ratio, the 308 is definitely up there in popularity. I don't know if I'd say it's more popular than 30-06 just because of the dramatic amount of 30-06 out there. But boy, is it a solid contender. And there's a lot of people out there using 308 for their hunting rifles. It's just so abundant. There's so many different options, so many different rifles. And a lot of people who have 308 in their hunting rifle, they'll have like a 308 battle rifle or something like that for in the event that things go wrong. This way, logistically speaking, they only have to have one kind of ammunition that they can run in all their rifles, right? It makes sense. You know, you go out, you buy yourself a 500 case or 500 round case of 308, and you can run it in your hunting rifle and in your battle rifle in the event that maybe you need to. But this right here, I think, is definitely on the list of contenders for the most popular deer cartridges. The 308 100% has earned its way there. Alright, up next, do I have one just sitting around that I can grab here? I do not see anything. So, the next big contender, I'd probably have to give it to the 30-30 Winchester. 30-30 is the first commercially available smokeless powder round here in the United States. Came out in 1894 for the Winchester 94 lever actions. Still had the classic Kingsgate, loading gate, side gate thing. It still had the Browning locking system for the bolts. It wasn't just a toggle action system. The 94 had a single locking piece as opposed to two locking blocks like the 1892 had, but it was still a very strong system. The firing pin was built right into the breech face. This way, as you lowered that down, it was an out of battery safety. But that 30-30 Winchester was around for a long time. A very, very long time. Like, what? It was probably about 10 years, 12 years, give or take. It was around 12 years longer or so than 30-06. And those lever actions were just so gosh darn good. And they're not necessarily everywhere nowadays, but man, they were everywhere for a very long time. Up until the 70s, maybe the 80s, a 30-30 lever action. That was the American rifle. There's a lot of places in the United States where that still is the American rifle. I think the AR has definitely taken that that title though, but 30-30, there's still a lot of deer being taken with that cartridge, and there's a lot of history behind that cartridge, and there's so much of it out there. But it's definitely a limited platform, and a limited, like, the cartridge design is limited. It's a rimmed cartridge. It's made to feed through tube magazines. You can get Spitzer bullets in them if you have a magazine style inside your rifle that can handle it, but by a huge margin, people aren't doing that. But even then, that 30-30, I think, is one of the top deer killing cartridges, even to this day, 2024, in the United States. By the time this video comes out, it'll probably be 2025. I got a little bit of a backlog of videos that I'm working on. So we got 308, 30-06, 30-30. The next one that I think is probably the big kahuna whenever it comes to deer hunting cartridges, it's probably going to be 7mm Remington Magnum. That is a cartridge that has a fair amount of power behind it. It's not an overly powerful cartridge in comparison to some other things, but it's got a fair amount of power behind it. But the 7mm Remington Magnum, it'll send, like, I think it's a 140 grain bullet at approximately 3,000 to 3,200 feet per second, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's moving. It's moving quite fast. It's a little bit more powerful than a 30-06, and it's not near as popular as 30-06, but it's popular enough to where it made this list. It's not a military cartridge, but like I said, there's enough people rocking that cartridge to where I think it has earned its place on this list. And last but not least, a very popular one that holds a special place in my heart. 300 Winchester Magnum. That is a very popular deer hunting cartridge. It sends a 150 grain bullet at about 3,400 feet per second, give or take. That's a pretty heavy bullet moving pretty gosh darn fast. There's a lot of power behind that cartridge. That is yet another cartridge that I have seen pop up on the YouTube channel over the years, time and time again, whenever it comes to deer hunting. And I think that these 5 cartridges here, the 30-06, 308, 30-30, 7-rim mag, and 300 Winchester Magnum, I think that those are the most popular deer hunting cartridges in the U.S. Now, like I said before, there might be some areas where you don't see that, and there might be some areas where that's all there is, but I think as a whole in the country, just those are the ones that continuously pop up. Alright, that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I guess I'll see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.